Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Aether TST meeting for January 31st, 2023. We'll be looking at the Aether TST meeting notes. The link is shown as I'm sharing there. And I know I initially said we'd alternate in order between sort of the tactical release and the strategic release content plans, but I'd like to make sure we've got enough time to talk about release 2.1 since we're in the final stages there. So I'd like to start there. And the first one I'd like to discuss is the blocker issue that Amit reported, and I think Sean and others were taking a look at. I've captured just a brief summary that was sent by email of a couple of the symptoms, and I don't know to what degree this is the same problem as has been reported. These are two the same problems. So, Amit, maybe you can start us off.
Yeah. So basically, there are two issues. This is one issue that is listed is regarding the scalability, where we wanted to provision like more than a users in 10,000, more than 10,000. Okay, so there was a PR given by Jordan, so we wanted to test it out. So we tried two approaches. So Sean has developed a test suite which can internally simulate this provisioning and do the testing on the GNMI front. So we both tried our different approaches, like one using the Sean test case, and we are using basically EtherRock API automation. And we found issue on both sides. Like it is that Atomics is not kind of stable. So like on Sean's setup, it was like failing after 35 MCs. Means failing means the whenever there is a MC provisioning, the call to provisioning in the Atomics database, the timing interval is taking much more than what is required, and there is a context deadline error coming out after that. So there will be no API calls happening on our setup.
The key question. Sorry, let me let you continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in our setup, we saw like one transaction was stuck for around 20 hours, and it's a very powerful server we have. So I'm not sure what is going there. So this issue is scalability, but the other issue is where the Atomics database is getting locked. So that is again a file on the ONAS config repo. So these both issues are kind of blocker for us right now, and there is no a concrete path to work on right now.
Okay. So how many MZs had been pushed at the time you hit this 20-hour freeze?
Just 12 MCs.
12. Okay, yeah. So that's definitely not
plus,
a scalability issue. That's got to be some kind of a bug that outright deadlocked.
So what we are seeing, something related to the Atomics, and there are a lot of interdependencies right now with the PR and the ONAS config chart and all that stuff. So we need kind of an help where we can have a sanitized setup, because it took us a lot of time to get the right setup, and then we are seeing these issues again.
Okay. Is it your perception that these are both symptoms of a same problem, or do you think they are distinct problems?
I am not sure. I see earlier I used to see like there are two distinct problems. Like one is scalability, where we were hitting the limit, but right now we are not seeing that limit. Before that itself, it is crashing.
Okay, so let's treat them as separate issues until we learn otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
So I want to confirm that what I understand is the existing, which is not even merged. You guys are using the image that has been generated based on the Atomics update. Am I right, Amit?
Yes, we are using the Atomics same images. There is no customization. Also, the ONAS config images also we are using the same as it is, the latest one.
The latest in the Helm chart?
So sorry about that. So the PR changes actually.
Okay,
that's why the 1606.
Yeah, that's what. So that so this is not related with release 2.1.
May not be.
Yes.
Yeah, in a way, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, 1606 was a PR Jordan did to try and alleviate some of the scalability problems, but they are separate, I think, to the 2.1 release. So,
Yes.
I mean, in fact, it turns out 1606 is not really suitable to merge, right? It gives worse performance. I mean, that's the bottom line from it. Really, I've brought that back to Jordan. I've got no response. We're having weekly meetings on this subject now, and that meeting is tomorrow. I will bring it up again. And I think we need to explore, or Jordan needs to explore alternatives to that solution.
Sure.
So, yeah, putting that aside, I mean, I think the other issue you're seeing, Amit, is something I haven't seen, and I have run, this stack quite a lot. I mean, the failure of the 1+1+1+10, was that on the patch 1606 or no?
Yeah. So this was on the patch only. The other issue,
Yeah.
what I was talking about, the database locking, like this was earlier we reported like there was a cluster upgrade, some networking activity was happening, and that's how we reported. But in between, we are hitting this issue, so we are not sure it's a networking related issue is something is causing, but we are not
Yeah.
getting any logs, any clue regarding this. So where
Right.
the transactions are getting stuck.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lack of tooling and there's a lack of diagnosis, I think, is kind of the key takeaway that we can get out of it. I mean, yeah, you're seeing a fault that I haven't seen, and I would like to point you to tools and diagnosis for it, but I can't. And network delays are a tricky thing to diagnose in logs. I mean, there's always going to be a delay in the network. If it
Yes.
exceeds a certain value, do you
Yes. So
log
so-
it? What I'm getting at is we don't have the diagnosis tools.
yeah. So the network delays, I agree, but there are no workarounds. Like if we get stuck into the
Right.
situation, we needed a workaround. Like how we can recover
Yes.
the system. Only way we found is just to redeploy. We tried
That's
to
a good
start some
point.
of the
Yeah. So we should add that to the list of things needed. Recovery tools.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
agreed. I will bring that up, and I will
What can we
I
do
will
to
add
get
that to the
some
list of things in Intel that we're tackling. Sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
what can we do to get some urgent attention on this particular set of issues from Jordan? Because I think a weekly cadence is, given where we are with the release, we need to be treating these much more urgently.
Well, I think we've said these are not part of the 2.1 release.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, we don't.
1606 is not part of the release.
No.
Understood. Are these issues strictly occurring when we have 1606 applied?
Kind of.
Yeah.
No, so I'm at the database locks up on our normal
Yes,
development
yes.
without the pull request
Yes,
1606.
So this the 1+110 MC or so, and the PR we are talking about, this was strictly for the scalability thing. We haven't installed this in the Kajit's environment. Like, in Kajit environment is whatever it is, the latest one. That is not a specific Automix build we have.
Right.
The older build, where it's quite stable, but we are hitting this database locking issue.
Okay, but is that something we can reproduce accurately?
There is no scenario to reproduce this. That's what the problem is now. There's no exact scenario.
Laura, you
Yeah.
said you were hitting this problem regularly, under what conditions are you seeing the issue manifest itself?
That's the problem. We don't have
That-
any logging or tools to be able to diagnose when it happens. So we don't know how to reproduce it.
Are you seeing the problem at certain at a specific scale level?
No.
No,
No. Okay.
it just randomly the database will lock up. It's done it frequently over the last couple of weeks, and it means that we can't read into the database, or sorry, we can't write into the database at all. So API calls don't work at all, and we have to completely scrap and redeploy. And we just have production stuff coming up, and we can't do it that
So
way.
could you give us some way we could replicate your
so-
environment?
Yeah, so we did that exercise like 2-3 weeks back, right? When we tried to restart the nodes and we were able to reproduce this. I think we have all the information on the ONOS config. There is an issue we filed. I can give the link. Yeah.
So Timon, I noticed you edited the TST meeting notes, noting this as release 2.1++. Well, why did you do that? If
Well,
this is a blocker.
I think, no, I think, my understanding is shifting back and forth through this conversation. I think it would help too. Yeah, I don't think we've really captured the Khajiit situation here, or at least it's, I mean, basically there's a database locking issue. Is that the same, we believe, as the 1+1+10?
No.
So it's a third issue, that's
No,
not.
there are two issues. There are two issues. One is scalability issue and one is database locking issue. So what issue mentioned in this here, like the failure after 35 MCs or 1+110 MC, is related to the scalability PR testing.
And this is all related to 16.06?
Yes.
Okay, and then, so there's basically something else that is a blocker that's around a database locking issue.
Yeah. So I just pasted the link on the chat where the issue you reported.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we worked through that issue at the time,
Yeah.
and I thought this was a one-off. I didn't not know you'd ever seen this again.
No, we hit it after that. Last 2 weeks.
And it was the same as is shown in this. Actually, I can't see the.
Almost the scenario is different. The symptoms are same.
Okay, can
The
I?
transaction, yeah. Sorry.
Whoever's sharing the screen, can you click on this link, please?
Do that. Hang on a sec.
And can you go down to the end? Yeah, this text or this dark colored image. Just in the detail of that. So you're saying that you're getting this failed to unmarshal the received message proto.
So, I think we saw this error like normally also we are seeing this issue, this error. So I don't think this error is related.
To me, that's the only clue we have as to what's going on. And what I'm trying to ask you is, are you consistently receiving this error message?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even on the working setup.
Okay.
So earlier we thought like it might be issue, but it's not related to it.
Sorry, what's not related to it?
Yeah, this error, whatever you are seeing, unable to read communication.
Okay, this
We are
might be a
actually-
symptom and not the cause. I mean, this is just a symptom, but you're seeing this symptom on a regular basis.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't aware this was still an issue.
So last 2 weeks we are hitting it. Like so earlier we used to hit it up whenever there is a cluster upgrade. but last 2 weeks there is no cluster upgrade happening. But suddenly we are seeing this issue.
Okay. Okay. The next time you see this, I mean, I'd like to look into your system just to understand a bit more what's going on. We should have a debug call the next time you see it. I've never seen it in all the times I've run Rock, and I'm really puzzled by it.
We can again try to reproduce this because we were able to reproduce it ourselves earlier.
Yeah, I'm thinking it must be something in your environment, you know, because like we have tests running several times a day on Aether Rock, you know, for all sorts of tests, API tests, and all of those kind of thing, integration tests, and we've never come across this message, and I just wonder what could be causing it.
Do those tests include a scale of subscribers or IMSIs as well?
No, they don't. Not at a huge scale. I mean, is this only when you're at a huge scale?
No,
Okay.
it just I think 10-15 IMSIs, but the random operations are done, like device group
Right.
modification. So it's not like
Yeah.
we have any controlled testing there.
Right. So this is what amazes me. It doesn't seem like it's related to the scale, Siva.
Yeah, it is not. It is not.
Okay.
And I've never seen it except for their system. And I thought this was a once-off. I did not know it occurred again.
Yeah, so last 2 weeks we are seeing it again.
Okay, so I mean, I think just I would advise looking at your CNI, you know, the custom network interface, if you have one on Kubernetes or something like this. I mean, that would be my suspicion of it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I've never seen anything like it. Okay, thanks for sharing.
Okay, so
Yeah, Sean, if it helps in any way, I mean, if you want to get on a troubleshooting call whenever we see it, we'd be more than happy to get you on a call, troubleshoot,
Yeah.
and even give you access to go dig around if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah.
Please, Amit, please invite me also. So that will
Yeah.
be great experience for me.
Yep, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
okay, so this so this is really our key blocking issue. Then the scalability PR testing under 1606 still requires work. So that's 2.1.1 or whatever we're going to call it. Are we?
Agreed.
Am I correct in my understanding in the way it's written now?
Yeah, I think this we have a clear distinction between 1606 and 1601.
Okay.
1606, yeah, like you say, is related to 2.1 dot something in the future, and 1601. I mean, we have countless installations that are we've countless installations that, you know, never have come across this problem, and we're doing it on a regular basis. You know, I don't know whether it's a blocker for 2.1 or not.
Okay.
How are we gonna make that call?
Are we going to make a call whether 1601 is blocking or not blocking? It sounds like I think we've deemed it blocking at this point.
So Sean, I think yeah. Well, if I
Yeah, I
understand,
mean,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Timan. Sorry. I mean, yeah, look, I have no clue how to reproduce it. I have no clue of a deadline for any fix for it. You can put it blocking if you want to, that's really for you to decide. But you can't ask me when it'll be fixed, because I can't even see it as a problem, except hopefully these guys will be able to reproduce it. And we have no idea when a fix will be in place. So I think it's an executive decision as to whether you want to call this blocking or not blocking, whether you want to release 2.1 or not.
From a Dan and Laura perspective, are you seeing this on current releases or earlier and as well as earlier releases?
We're just on the 2.02, so I
Okay.
don't see why it would be a blocker for
Yeah.
an upcoming release 2.1. I don't
Understood.
think it's related.
Okay, so it certainly has to be addressed with urgency, but since we're not dealing with a behavior change, it sounds like it's not necessarily a 2.1 blocker.
Correct.
We'd all love to have it fixed yesterday, but that's
Yeah, exactly. I could not see how you could say this is a blocker for 2.1 if it's never been tested on 2.1.
yeah,
And it's never been it's never been evidenced on 2.1.
And I also don't think that I don't think we're seeing necessarily a behavior change. So 2.01 or 2.02?
Yeah, I thought I heard
2.02. Yeah.
2.2. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just move this whole conversation outside of the release 2.1.
Okay.
2.2.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and look at the testing results on 2.1 Amol.
Okay, let me share the screen.
Do you want me to share it from here or you want to share it?
I will share it.
Great. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Shiva. Okay, I hope everyone can see the slides. Okay, Aether 2.1 release. So in this presentation, 5G test, newly added test, ROC, newly added test, the status of Aether deployment and the action plan. So if you see, the newly added test has been added in the second last column, test 5G core. So there it has been added. So you can see there are two failures which are not related with those tests. So first failure, which shows around 6 minutes 31 second, that failure is about the same. UE does not get an IP. And if you see the failure, second failure, 3 minutes 10 seconds. So that failure is regarding the GNB SIM, means NG setup is not initialized. So which is not a constant error. So we can say it is as a unstable error. So another. Okay, so the next the test that we have added is Aether ROC API test, total number of tests R66. I'm thankful to the Sean, who has entered all those tests into the Aether system repository, and thanks to Abhilash also for the coordination for bringing those tests up. So those tests yesterday, they have committed in the repository, and yesterday night I have created the jobs and tested, and the jobs are successful. So in the presentation, you can see that the two jobs failed, but they are meant to be failed. It's not that the tests are failed. So I will explain that later. So the next is AIAV deployment test. AIAV deployment test is stable. You can see those two that I have mentioned. One is unable to get IP, and second one is NG setup failure, that is not a stable error. So it comes and goes depending on the situation to situation. So another is I'm concerning here regarding AIAB 2.0 test that we are doing currently, means always that the atomics Helm charts are unreachable. That's why recent all these three tests are failed. So I'm looking at it right now, but I cannot confirm that those are stable errors or not. Those are just recently last 3 times we run these tests, AIAB deployment 2.0 test every 12 hours. So those are last 36-hour test.
So what's going on here with this particular one? What has changed, Amol?
Correct. So so all the errors I have configured in this slide. So AIAB latest, that is the master what we are deploying and testing against. So the first error, which is unstable, waiting for UE to get an IP. Second error is processing NG setup failure. That is also unstable. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't come. But most of the times we are successful in the deployment and testing. AIAB 2.0, as I showed, the same error, unstable, waiting for UE to get an IP. And those 2 errors are recently last 3 times execution I found. Atomics controller hem chart 0.6.9 not found in the index. Atomics raft storage hem chart 0.1.25 not found in the index. I also saw that they are in the repository, but I'm not sure why those are failed. But currently, as they are executed just for last 2 times, I cannot say that those are stable errors and something like that. Another, the last Aether Rock API test, as I told, there were 2 failed tests. So the failed tests, they are meant to be failed. One of the tests is create the same slice twice. So it should be fail. So that is one of the tests, and another is delete slice. So correct me, Sean, if I'm wrong. So which means that if we didn't create that slice, and that slice we are trying to delete that. So that's why that test is also fail. So
Yeah, and just to give a mention, I mean, the reason it's failing is we put in a guardrail in the ROC model that says you shouldn't be able to create 2 slices with domain groups that have the same IP domain. And what the test is doing is it's creating 2 slices. It's giving them both the same device group, and the second one can't be created. So it's the test that's wrong and the implementation is right. Now the tests are auto-generated through scripts, and it's going to take some effort to change those test generation scripts so that it takes care of a scenario like this. Abhilash, who wrote the tests originally, is working with me to try and get a resolution to it.
Okay, for now, we know and understand that the failures are expected, and that's the expected behavior. So we can treat those as successes while we work on having the test output give us a success instead of a failure.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine as long as we know those ones. Let me come back to the Atomics controller Helm chart and the RAF storage Helm chart. What's the action plan to resolve these, Amol?
So currently, I think we need to observe, I think 2 more days, and let's see if that continues, because I have seen that those hem charts are present there in the repository, but we have to wait to see that. But that is not related with Aether 2.1 release.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, that's for Ether 2.0. Ether 2.1 is pulling down Atomic's runtime instead. So, yeah, it is. It's very strange to me that it can't find these charts. For some reason, it just stopped working, and it needs some investigation, but unrelated to Ether 2.1, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Who's got ownership of looking at this? Is that you, Sean, as well?
I think Amal has the ownership, but I'll help him with it.
Okay, so that's a fair play to Amal with support from Sean and others.
Yes. Yes.
And does not appear to be an Ether 2.1 release issue.
No,
At this
it's not.
juncture.
No, it's
Okay.
not related with Aether 2.0.
Appreciate
So,
the clarification.
Yes. So these are the error status of the test cases. what we have seen. So the testing that we have, these are the testing that we have, these are the testing that we can, and these are the testing that we have done. So 5G test, we have added extra test. 4G test is also there. ROC API test we have added, and SD core manual test has been done. So this is the status of the testing that currently we are sitting on. So based on that, the action plan, what I think is, as I know that everyone is working on a release note, but I would like to go ahead and release Aether 2.1 if I get the permission to do that, and based on the TST's, it's a TST's call. And because after release also I need to test Aether 2.1. So I can get until you guys come up with the release note. Till that time, I will be ready with the Aether 2.1 test on Aether 2.1 will be done. So
Thanks. Any other questions for Amol on this topic? I'm coming to the release notes next.
so my question is, are we means am I can I release Aether 2.1 as we have tested everything?
Let's make sure the release notes are in good shape, but yeah, basically once they're done, unless anybody has some objections to it, it sounds like we're lined up for 2.1. So let me open it up to the floor. Any issues with releasing 2.1 at this juncture with the current state and the issues that we've seen and identified?
I have one question. Amol, can you go back to the Ether in a box test? Yeah, this
Yeah,
one.
correct.
Something that I'm confused about is the test 5G core with ROC test. It's passing, but it looks like it's taking 17 minutes.
Correct.
And it used to be the case, I think, that it used to take around 3 minutes. And so I was
Yes.
wondering, like, what has changed there, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So initially we used to test only one test in those test 5G core with ROC. Now I have activated 7 more tests. So all those tests are coming. That's why they are getting executed under that pipeline. That's why it has increased the time from 3 minutes to 17 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So it's more tests being run. It's not
Correct.
the same procedure.
No.
It's now taking like 5 times as long. Okay,
No,
great.
no. Yeah, because as you can see that these tests, most of these tests we are not doing because of NG40 setup. So that's why we have activated all the tests in the make file. Whatever tests are written there, means I have activated, enabled all the tests, and those are conducted on the same stage of the pipeline. That's why the completion time has been increased from 3 minutes to 17 minutes.
Great, thanks.
No problem.
Good question. Thanks, Andy. All right. Same question still on the floor. Ether 2.1 ready for release. Any concerns or objections?
Well, I have a question. Maybe
ahead.
this is not the right forum, but is what's in those test plans? I mean, those tests, is a test plan published somewhere so we know what is and isn't covered?
So whenever you clone the AIAB, the tests are already there. When you type make test or make 5G test, so those tests that are involved in the repository, those tests we are doing. Apart from that, only ROC API test has been done.
Okay.
And that is available in the Gerrit repository.
I think the values file, SD core 5G values file, has the different tests that you need to run.
Yeah, right.
You can add more tests, but the ones we have tested are the tests that I think if you read through them, you can see some is service request and PDO establishment and all of them.
Yeah.
Dan, did you get the answer to your question?
Yeah, without digging through those test plans, I think I don't have any concerns.
Okay. Thanks. Let's switch gears to the release notes.
So,
stop. Can you stop
so-
sharing your Amol?
Sure. So I can go ahead and release Aether 2.1.
Wait until we're done the meeting, please.
Okay.
Let's get the release notes. Make sure there are no issues there, and then we can make a formal declaration.
Okay, no problem.
Oops. Don't want that. That. Okay, Ether release notes have been updated. They're still annotated, except I've accepted some of the changes in the first couple of paragraphs. I just want to make sure that there were no major issues still remaining. It sounds like these particular changes, removals, were all I guess sensible removals based on some stale documentation that these original release notes were written from. The configurations have not been revalidated, so just trying to be clear with the community as we validated this on Ether in a box. Now others can certainly validate it and run it on other configurations that previously had been validated.
Let me ask a quick question as you're scrolling. That says, please refer to the SD Fabric 1.1 release notes. I think I copied a 1.2 version out of the version stuff down at the bottom. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a typo error. Let me just find that. SD Fabric, SD Core 1.2.
yeah, SD Fabric 1.2 was the statement. Up above it said 1.1, down here it's 1.2. I did hear back from Carmelo that 1.2 was the most recent public release, so I think it should be 1.2. Yeah, sorry, I saw it flying by as you were
No, I
narrating.
appreciate you catching it. Those are the kind of
Sure.
one digit errors that can burn us. All right, the configuration model improvement, LGTM. What's the acronym?
Looks good to me.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Let's get together Monday. I don't know.
That works too.
All right. We're okay here. Amol. These are removed because we haven't done this testing, so that's consistent. Multiple slice again because we haven't been able to get the test bed operational. That this is not done. I remove the statement of the next release. We'll remove it. We will remove it. I hope it's next release, but let's not make promises we're not ready to keep, or we haven't planned out yet. And
sorry, I just one thing flashed past me there. It says, yeah, each site should be configured with a different enterprise ID. Is that in the IMSI section, Scott? Or is that in Rock at all, or where is it going?
Whoops, I was
What's
muted.
it relating to?
I wonder if this was 2.0 before we did the one target per enterprise. It's probably a holdover from that release note. I would say drop it if you're in agreement,
Yeah.
Sean.
Oops.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It is removed.
Oh, and the transaction history page. Oh, gosh. I'm actually just going to check the GUI and see if it's in it. I forgot to look at that. Yeah, carry on and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Do
We'll
it.
come back to that in a second. Okay, component versions. So Atomics runtime 0.2.0, that's an Onos and Aether Rock umbrella. Are those correct, Sean? You had a comment here, change to replace two old Atomics charts with single Atomics runtime chart.
Oh, yeah,
I'll-
that's correct now.
Okay.
I'll update that. So
Actually, yeah, probably better make it 1.9
yeah, 1.9, not 2.0
for Atomics runtime.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna ask about.
0.1.9, yeah. That's what Andy tested it with.
Okay. And Amol, I will ask you to go through this and make sure this is exactly aligning with the build.
Correct. I'll do that.
Thank you. On SD core, does that all look correct, AJ? It looks like you've updated it. Is AJ? Yeah, AJ's there.
I did not add these things,
But
but
I'll update those if it is wrong or if it is old. I'll update those.
Thank you.
Amol, yeah, just make sure that whatever Helm chart you're putting it here, the same Helm charts are used for testing.
Yes.
Okay. Amol, that one, can you double check that one?
Sure.
Thank you. UPF.
Yeah,
And
UPF,
SD
I asked Carmelo about that, about UPF and SD Fabric. He gave me a confirmation on SD Fabric. UPF he thought was 0.0.5. I've asked him to confirm that. If you have 0.1.0, I'm assuming yours is correct. Does anybody, Badri or anyone know? Do we have a confirmation on this 0.1.0, or anybody who's tested it knows that that's the one you're using?
Yeah, that's the one I see on
SD core.
SD core release notes of
Yeah.
1.2 also.
Okay, we'll keep that as confirmed then. So I think we're good on the UPF and Fabric versions then.
Okay, great. And I guess the final sanity check is to make sure we're building to these artifacts. So Amol, if you can have the final double check on that, that'd be appreciated. Hardware and vendor dependencies, I think a bunch were added here, which is great. The Circom Radisys, the Trillium, TNW, and the Moto 5G. Anything else we can add in here?
So that mobile option that has been added by me, because I have tested that, and I think the another also in the community meeting I have seen the same mobile, so we can put that, I think, there.
That's fine. Yeah, I just want to make sure that the list is comprehensive, but we don't want to make up stuff either.
Yeah.
Okay. Just coming back to the transaction history page, Sean, were you able to validate that?
Yeah, you can take that out. It's no longer an issue.
The one that's highlighted?
Yeah.
Okay. It is gone. All right.
Just a second. That one about the SIM card ID is. I am just going to check that is still.
I know we changed it from numeric to a text field to allow for leading zeros. Did we also change?
Well, that was the IMSI in it. No, but you can remove this one as well. Yeah. Now we use SIM card ID. that issue is gone.
So it's no longer a deviation from the convention.
Correct, yeah.
That's good. Okay. Based on the content here, based on what we've discussed in terms of the test results and the content, are we all in agreement that 2.1 is ready for release? And I'd like to start with the formal TST members first, and then move to the other attendees. Scott,
Yeah, I'll give you my +1. Let's kick it out the door.
we got one thumbs up. All right. Let me think. Who else is there? Sean,
Yes, from me.
Andy.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. AJ.
Yeah.
All right. Others in the meeting. Let me start with Dan.
I'm gonna go.
All right. Badri. I guess so with Dan, Laura. Hopefully there isn't a dissenting view from Kajit, but should ask you directly. Laura, your view?
We're a go. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Daniel. Good,
All
thank
good.
you. Denise.
All good.
Okay.
I just have one thing I'd like to add, and it's a question for the team. Would we like to do a Techinar on this release of Aether? Our last Techinar in Aether was January of last year. So I'm thinking it would be timely if we feel that there's enough content here to do a Techinar. To me, it seems like there is, but I want to put that out to the team.
Yeah, I believe it's important to do, almost regardless of the amount of content. And I think, that I think there's enough content, there are enough visible changes that it's important that people are aware of it. And I think we want to make sure that people understand the scope of what we've done in 2.1 clearly.
Yeah.
So yes. I'll ask you to start planning around that and ask for support around who's going to be part of that Techinar.
Well, this is a group that I'd like to ask the support from as to who would be who would participate in that Techinar and providing the overview of 1.2 and perhaps even giving some insight into what's coming up.
I'll start with the first part. I think in terms of what's driven the content should be where the subject matter expertise comes from. So I think that's really in Scott and Sean and so to some degree AJ's area with the ST core piece. I don't know if I've missed anybody specifically. Obviously, Amol from the infra perspective. I'd ask those three guys, say who else should be participating. I'm happy to participate in sort of the forward-looking view.
Yeah, I think we would have to discuss it amongst ourselves to see who could contribute. But I think, coming up with someone, one of us who could contribute, I think would be useful for, an overview of the modeling changes and stuff like that.
So can I leave that action with you, Scott, to come up with the contributors to that Techinar?
Sure.
All right.
Perfect.
Come back to Denise and say, here are the right people to do it.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Usually we try and schedule these at least a week after, following the release. So I know we probably can't set the date until we figure out the who, but just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So we're probably looking at, early February to try and schedule the Techinar.
Okay, great.
Great.
In terms of 2.1 being go, Daniel, CPQD perspective?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Thumbs up for 2.1?
Yeah.
Okay, Christian?
Yeah, well, I'll let you guys decide, right?
Okay,
I'm just user of it. Yeah.
no worries. And Timon,
I have no objection.
all right.
Going out the door.
And I'm happy to declare 2.1 is a done deal, ready to ship. I will clean up the release notes. I'll republish them in draft form and ask them all to do a final double check against the release artifacts, and then let us all know when they're out the door, including the publishing of the release notes. Thank you everybody for tremendous effort getting us to this point. There's still lots of work to do, but always nice to celebrate some milestones. So thank you, everybody.
And thank you.
All right. We are getting close to the top of the hour. We shift our focus. It sounds like we've got on release 2.1.1, certainly the work around SD Core 1.3. AJ, any update on the security scanning task completion that we would start to attach timing to?
For SD core or
I thought that was an SD core issue. Let me just see. Yeah, from last week.
yeah, so we started integrating like some Jenkins tasks to run the security tools. We're getting some output files. We're trying to analyze it to see if it affects how much of it is under what delta we have changed for this release.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I mean, it's still 2 weeks out, I would say.
So there might be there is a little bit of uncertainty in terms of the task which comes out of those security scans. And Intel has mandated many scans to be done before committing some piece of code. Right. So yeah, there is a possibility that it might even go beyond February. Yeah, I mean, if you are lucky and most of the action item, if you can close it early, yeah, then it may happen early February as well, the mid of the February. Yeah.
Okay. And on the atomics changes, we've talked lots about them earlier. I guess, Sean, one thing I'd ask of you guys to consider is, when do we think we'll have the development and the testing to a point where we can start to think about 2.1 release? Not asking for an answer on the spot, just for consideration as you're looking at the issues.
All right. Did you mean 2.1.x there in that heading?
Yeah, these are the near term changes to atomics versus the longer term changes.
I see. Okay. Yeah. 2. Anything after that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then there was sorry, go ahead.
As we gather more information, we'll keep you updated. I know there are a few changes in the works at the moment. The fact that 1606 has performance problems is a bit of a setback, and I think that will take another go at it. So yeah, 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. I guess the open question is anything else we want to consider for this release. So I'd ask for feedback on that so we can start considering additional content. And then there was some discussion about developer availability last week. Just wanted to see if anything had materialized, or is there new information here? I think Scott, this one was, I think you mentioned that.
Yeah, so that was,
yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
I had kind of mentioned it. Yeah, there are 3 developers working on looking at the scalability of honest config.
Okay.
And that started last Wednesday or Thursday. So we will, there are a number of issues open on the Intel Jira, and they're working through those. We don't have an estimate when all of it will be done, but we're meeting on a weekly basis.
Okay, and you know, if you can tell us as soon as possible, that I'll call it the plan for a plan. When do you think you'll have a point where you know scope, content, and resources to say, yeah, it's going to be roughly this timeline?
Sure.
I know it's early days on it though. Okay, I'll save the question on the Pronto project release till next week since we're near the top of the hour, but that's also coming into focus now as we move from January into February, March timeframe. We're expecting that drop of code. So we'll start there next week and try to start lining up the follow-on releases to 2.1. But once again, thank you to everybody for helping complete this release and getting it out the door and getting the assembly line back on track. So thank you all.
Yeah, it's great to see it coming together, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, same time next week. Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.